Oh boy, disclaimer.
Welcome one and all to Simpsons Treehouse of Horror Countdown Review. Continue watching, if you dare. Man, the intro to Treehouse 17 is bloody awesome. It parodies Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt is one of my favourite horror anthology series ever, so seeing it here is wonderful. The animation of the castle and the crypt are great, and I love the first person of the guy falling down the stairs. Mr. Burns appears as the Crypt Keeper, and again, they couldn't have picked a better character for the role. Moe, meanwhile, is bound in an Iron Maiden and begs to be killed as he's sick of hearing Burns and Smithers talk. As he dies, his blood pools out of the Maiden and spells out the episode's title. This is one of the best intros yet. Well, it's all about to come crashing down. Get it? Cause it's a meteorite? Anyway, Married to the Blob centres around the changes Homer goes through after eating some random green goo that comes out of a meteorite. Upon eating it, Homer gets an unquenchable hunger and starts eating everything and everyone until he becomes a giant yellow glob. Yes, as the name suggests, it's clearly a parody of the Blob, but with a pretty decent twist. Usually the Blob is the stuff that comes out of the meteor, so seeing one of the show's characters becoming the Blob instead is a nice touch. Being honest though, that's all I really have to say about it. Other than that, it's pretty dull overall. Seeing Homer waddling around eating people gets boring pretty fast. I do like the 50-foot Lenny gag though. Also, why is Dr. Phil there? What possible reason could he have for being there? I get it's a gag about Dr. Phil helping those with addictions, but it really isn't necessary. The earlier Treehouse installments didn't need celebrity cameos crammed in for no reason, but sadly that trend was becoming more and more common by this point. Instead of writing something funny, clever, scary or memorable, they would rather just shoehorn a celebrity in there. And they don't really do anything with him. He just scolds Homer and gets eaten. What was the point? The segment ends when Marge and Homer decide to try and put his problem to good use, so they have him eat all the homeless people in Springfield. I'll give them this, it was a pretty funny ending. Married to the Blob gets a 3 out of 10 from me. I liked the concept of Homer being the Blob, but they didn't really do anything with it. Oh great, he keeps eating. What else is new? Its comedy and scares also lacked throughout. In this segment we see something truly horrifying. Krusty in HD. Holy Jesus! Okay, all jokes aside, that was pretty funny. You gotta know when to Golem starts with Bart going backstage after one of Krusty's shows and discovering the Golem of Prague. Krusty tells the story of how a 17th century rabbi created the Golem to protect Jewish people. The Golem obeys any command written on a scroll and placed into its mouth. So of course, Bart writes a scroll telling it to come to his house that night. My thoughts on this segment are very mixed. It's not scary, which is a disappointment considering they have a giant clay golem at Bart's beck and call. But this segment does have some violence. For example, Bart gets the golem to swap around the heads of Jimbo, Kearney and Dolph. We also see him shooting people. Speaking of which, I think it's pretty funny how the protector of the Jewish people in this segment uses a shotgun to deal with everything. Other funny moments include the golem using Principal Skinner as a yo-yo and Homer's cunning demand.
Hey boy, where's your mud buddy? I have a little job for him.
But there's also a lot of guff too. First of all, for as many funny jokes there are also some that fall flat. One example is when the golem arrives. We hear heavy footsteps and moaning and Bart gets excited, only for it to be a drunk Homer stumbling around. Gee, who didn't see that coming? Another example is this.
Can't you read my writing? I didn't say kick Homer's walls.
Ha ha! What a great joke! Oh wait, an 8-year-old wouldn't find that funny. Also, I don't feel the concept was really lived up to. You have a giant clay monster under the power of Bart and he barely does anything. Lisa also inserts a scroll into the Golem's mouth commanding him to speak, which you think would create some more interesting content, but no. He just moans about having to do all the horrible things he's commanded to do and makes crap jokes. Just think of all the possibilities that could be done with this segment. Bart only gives the guy 2 bloody commands. The segment's end doesn't really do it for me either. To cheer the Golem up, they make him a bride out of Play-Doh, who is voiced by Fran Drescher. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I'll admit, Homer trying to take an axe to her immediately after she speaks is pretty funny. When they get married, Chief Wiggum tries to arrest the Golem for murder, but drops the charges when he is offered fried food. What a clusterfuck of an ending. This segment gets a 4 out of 10. The funny jokes do save it, but there is a lot to not like. The concept wasn't used to its full potential, and its lack of scares and crap jokes didn't do it any favours either. Good lord, can this segment get an above average? Based around the War of the Worlds hoax from 1938, this segment sees Springfield during the Great Depression. Upon hearing the Orson Welles War of the World radio show, the entire town breaks into a mass panic. And it's hilarious. Seeing the citizens of Springfield burst into mass hysteria is truly something to behold. The whole concept of people in 1938 losing their minds over a radio play is a perfect fit in the Simpsons universe, and it leads to some great laughs. Chief Wiggum's usual incompetence is at an all-time high in this segment.
Boys, we have to assume our guns are useless. Throw them in the lake. Good. Now the police car.
Orson Welles' sound technician just quitting on the spot cracks me up. The timing and pacing for the segment is also nice. It has a good flow to it and it doesn't get boring or confusing. Marge suggests that they all act like animals because the Martians only kill humans. So they all strip naked and make animal noises in the mud. The following morning, Lisa tells them it was all a hoax. With everyone now thinking aliens won't attack, Kang and Kodo seize the opportunity to invade. Orson Welles tries to warn the police, but they of course don't believe him, which goes well. Seeing Chief Wiggum getting his insides sucked out of him is a really cool death scene. It then skips ahead 3 years and we discover the only reason they invaded Earth was to rid them of weapons of mass destruction. Kang and Kodos also start mulling over why they weren't greeted as liberators. This is a clear reference of the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Yeah, I have nothing to really say about that. They then look over the bleak ruins of what was once Springfield. Jesus, that got deep real quick. Being honest, I'm not really a fan of the ending used here. It just doesn't feel right. Turning what was a fun segment about idiots believing a radio show about invading aliens was real into a war segment just doesn't do it. I just don't think it fits in with the overall theme. However, bad ending aside, it's a solid segment with plenty of laughs, beautiful animation, and a great take on the infamous War of the Worlds story. 7 out of 10 from me. Good grief, these are getting worse and worse. At this point, the imagination of the Treehouse installments was going down the drain in favour of cheap pop culture references, even cheaper guest appearances, and bland parodies. Married to the Blob had an interesting concept with a human turning into the Blob, but the idea ran its course way too early and it got dull quick. You Gotta Know When to Golem had a huge potential that was never exploited properly, and whilst The Day the Earth Stood Stupid was a good fun parody of the mass panic of 1938, its ending finished on such a drab, depressing note, you kinda feel empty afterwards. Treehouse of Horror 17 gets a 5 out of 10 from me. It's mostly dull, with some annoying moments and pointless guest appearances only being saved from a lower grade by being funny once in a while. And that's it for this video and this review. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm 3 scrolls short of a Golem? What did you think of Treehouse of Horror 17? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.